you've been part of the New York Financial Writers Association for quite some time. Tell us uh,
Yeah.
how long you've been a member and what has it meant to you being a part of this organization over that span of time.
Well, I've been a member of the association for 60 years, and it's been tremendous for me. I'm so glad that I joined. Uh, when I started at the New York Times, like my second day in the office, one of the assistant editors came over to me, and he was active in the association. And he says, "You want to join the association, don't you?" And I said, "I sure do." And I did. And by being a member of the association, I felt that I've made a contribution to the field of financial journalism. That I've helped to further the education of young journalists through the scholarship program. We've had our own educational sessions where I've learned so much about different aspects of financial journalism, and I've been able to bond with my peers from different organizations, and we've had a wonderful relationship. Uh, it's been collegial. We're still competitive when we go after stories, but it's collegial when we're after hours. So the New York Financial Writers Association has been tremendous for me. I'm so happy that I've been part of it all these years.
So you mentioned the scholarship, which is one of the tent poles of the organization. The other
Yeah.
tent pole, of course, is the Follies, which raises
Yes.
money for those scholarships. So tell me, as a matter of fact, when I first came on stage, you were already there. And so you are memorable in my eyes. You're like a legend. What is your most memorable Follies experience?
Well, my most memorable experience was my 50th year in the Follies. And I was so thrilled that I've been able to do it all those years. I love the Follies. It was a great exuberance for me to express myself. And I was so surprised. What happened, I was backstage waiting for the next number that I was to go on. And the director came over to me and she said, "Get out on the stage right away, right now." And I go out on the stage, and there was another veteran member of the association handing me a plaque commemorating my 50 years. And all of a sudden, a video was shown above us to the audience on a giant screen. And it had moments, it had snippets, maybe 30, 45-second snippets of perhaps a dozen numbers that I did over the 50 years. I played so many interesting characters. I played the head of the New York Stock Exchange. I played the head of the IRS. And the Follies were parodies of popular songs. And I was just thrilled to see that. And I received a copy of that video. And every once in a while, I watch it to bring back some beautiful memories.
So it's almost like you've been on Saturday Night Live for 50 years.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got a lot of
That's right.
songs and a lot of characters. Do you have a favorite song that you remember or a favorite character that you really like? Like, girl, that was my best one.
Um, well, I remember. I think we also got political characters into the show. I played George McGovern when he ran for president, and the song was we took the song Oklahoma from the show Oklahoma, and we made it South Dakota. So it was South Dakota. I love that song.
Great. So let's talk about the association a little bit more. You've been in the association for decades. How is the association different today from when you first joined?
Well, the most obvious thing is that we have women in the association now. Um, the year I was president of the association was the year that we admitted women. I had been pushing for it, and it was very difficult. We had a very recalcitrant membership, and I had to convince a lot of people because I believe we needed a 2/3 vote of the membership to change the bylaws to allow women in. But we finally succeeded, and probably the best thing the association did, because if we didn't have women in the association, we'd be blocking at least 50% of the financial journalists. Maybe it's even more than 50% now. So that's a big change. The association has, I think, enlarged its educational programs for members. And before COVID, there were many live sessions where specialists in various fields would talk to us about those specialty fields, whether it was hedge funds, whether it was M&A, and it really was very helpful for us for learning. And now it's being done online by and large. We have webinars, and it's the same thing. We can listen to people, we can ask questions, and this is relatively new for the association. 60 years ago, there was nothing at all like that. So that's also a big change. And another thing I found that there's a greater sense of professionalism among the members. I believe people are more serious about the field. They really want to do a good job, and they want to learn. They're better educated, I think, now. And so we have a terrific professional association, as well as one that has terrific social affairs as well.
So let's talk about the industry. You're like an elder statesman, for us. Now that you've been kind of like, I would say pseudo retired, right? Because you're not all the way retired. I know you still do a couple of.
I'm still writing.
You're still writing. I mean, how, like with a bird's eye view, how has the landscape of the world of financial journalism and financial media changed?
Well, of course, a big thing now is financial websites. There was no such thing before. And a lot of great financial journalism is online on these websites. Now, what that means is that everything is immediate. There's no such thing as covering a meeting and coming back and thinking about how you're going to write about it, and writing about it, and having it going through 2 or 3 editors before it goes into the paper. Now, when something happens, the journalist immediately writes the story, and it immediately appears online. So we have to be very careful now. Part of that is accuracy, I think, is more important than speed. So good to do these things as fast as possible, but I do think we got to make sure that we're accurate in what we say.
And talk about that a little bit more, because back in the day, there was like, the New York Times had a profound business section. Of course, it was the Wall Street Journal, and every city has a major newspaper that has a business section. But now you have all of these financial websites with personal finance and all this information. So there's a bit of a competition, not just for speed, but also for eyeballs. So how do you think that impacts the way the industry of financial journalism has changed?
Well, yes, there is a competition for eyeballs, and I think that can be dangerous. As I've indicated, to get a headline quickly that may not be 100% accurate I think is the wrong way to go. I think that we have to be fast and accurate, and I do think that. The major newspapers, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, all have print editions and all have websites. And those websites are a reflection of the type of journalism that's in the print edition. It's good journalism, and it's fast, and hopefully the speed does not cause any inaccuracies that then have to be corrected.
Are there any big stories, recently that because of the change in technology and the way that we're transmitting news, are there any big stories that you've seen break in the financial media press and you kind of shaking your head and been like, in the old days, that wouldn't have come out like this?
Well, you know, veteran reporters always have a tendency to say it's not as good now as it was when we were doing it. Of course, that's an exaggeration. It's probably not true. Um, I don't know the Sam Bankman-Fried scandal with FTX seems to me to be perhaps a little overblown. Um, I realize it's a scandal, and I realize that a lot of money is involved, but it seems the press has just overdone it with stories about them. I think it might be true the same thing with the Fox News scandal, Fox News and Dominion. Sure, we know what happened. We know that there was a suit. We know that Fox had to pay a big settlement fee. Uh, but so many stories, so many and repetition of the same thing. There may be four stories in the newspaper, say the day after the settlement was announced, and in the four stories, while the top had new angles, perhaps, when you get into the body of the stories, a lot of it was repetitious. Um, and so I think sometimes the press has a tendency to overblow. These things are overblown, and perhaps would be better if just took a step back and didn't do as much into each situation that might be or not 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 accomplishing anything beyond what one story might do or what two stories might do.
Do you think the pendulum has swung too far in terms of the industry creating like these financial personalities that pop up everywhere? Like, I don't want to name names, but like they're like stars almost, and
Yes.
it creates a too cozy relationship between what we're supposed to be reporting and who we're supposed to be covering, to now like our people are are the stars.
Yeah, I do think so. Um, and I think one way financial journalism has changed with these stories now are personal. People say, I spoke to him, or he said to me, or he told me when I interviewed him. This was never done before. The idea was that the journalist was not in the story. The subject of the story was the subject of the story. And I think so much of this is personal journalism, where it's I said or he told me, is a way of the journalist puffing up himself or herself, which is not necessary. Uh, the article itself is the telling factor. The quality of the article determines how good the reporter is, not him saying or her saying I or me. I remember when I started writing personal finance articles a long time ago, I had a fight to use the word you in these stories, these explanatory stories. I wanted to, if you have a 401k or if your IRA was opened 3 years ago, I had to fight editors to do that. They wanted me to say if one has a 401k or if one had an IRA. And I said, let's make it, that it attracts people more, that we're talking to the audience. And I finally won out. And now personal finance stories, maybe even other stories, all have the you in it. I think the you is okay. It's the I that I think ought to be restricted.
So let's follow on that train of thought. If you were talking to a group of young student journalists, would you encourage them to get into business, finance reporting today? And if so, why? And in your answer, since they won't hear my question, make sure you say, if I was talking to student journalists, I would blah, 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 blah.
Well, if I was talking to student journalists, I would encourage them to go into financial news. There is so much going on these days, and everybody is interested in it. With mutual funds and exchange traded funds and 401ks, it seems a huge percentage of the population is in one way or another invested in securities, stocks, or bonds, mutual funds. So there's so much going on that they could write about, and they could. Today, I believe stories are more analytical than they were when I first started. When I first started, it was just the facts, ma'am. Just read the facts, subject, verb, what happened. Now there's a tendency, and it's a good tendency, to explain why this happened, why a company's earnings were much lower than expected, uh, uh, why a new law will affect people's savings account. Uh, this analysis is very important, and this gives the young journalists a chance to shine. This is how they can shine, by really studying what's going on, speaking to as many people in the field as possible, reading a tremendous amount, books, articles, texts, and then presenting to the audience a good analysis of what is happening in a certain aspect of financial journalism. There's a lot of opportunity there. I think young people ought to grab it.
And what would be your greatest piece of advice to an aspiring, somebody's coming out of Columbia or Baruch or NYU, and they want to go and be a journalist and walk in your footsteps? What would be your greatest piece of advice?
Well, get a job, any job on a newspaper or a magazine. If you have to start as a copy boy or copy girl, if you start as an assistant, even if you're a gopher, just get a job and then once you're in there, once you're on the payroll, then use your spare time when you're not working to submit articles or submit ideas to your editors. You're in there. You know the people. Badger them a little bit. See if you can do some small or even larger pieces, and try to work your way into a reporting role. Once you do, then you're in good shape. You've got a career. It's a good career. It's one that's satisfying. I believe it's professionally accepted, and your life will be based on that. Your friends will be financial journalists. The people you talk to will always be your sources. You'll have a lot of sources developing, and stick with your sources. Keep in contact with them, and story will come up, and you'll find yourself writing more and more, and that's the whole idea. Write as much as possible. Get your byline. Hopefully you'll get some stories on the front page of the business section. Maybe eventually you'll get stories on the front page of the newspaper. It's a terrific opportunity, and all along you're on the web, and you got stories appearing constantly. So I would say to a young journalist, just keep at it, keep writing.
let me ask you this. When you look back at your career, is there a scoop or a story that you like that's like phenomenal? Like you had to wait in a bathroom or you had to like do something crazy in order to get a quote or get a story like is there something like some unusual way that that you had to get what you needed to get to make the story what you wanted it to be?
Well, I never had in the bathroom, but I did once. There was a meeting where executives had with journalists an interview session, and then when that was over, all the journalists left, uh, and somehow or other, I was in the back of the room, and maybe I was behind a cabinet or something, and I didn't rush out, and I listened to what they were saying, and I learned some interesting things about the company. So I had a story that nobody else had. That was fun, but that that's a rarity. You got to be lucky to get those type of things.
All right, finally, the media has come under fire, you know, recently in the past couple years for missing things or fake news, et cetera. So why do you think the organization that we're part of, the New York Financial Writers Association, uh, is important or is gaining even more importance in today's climate, which can be hostile towards journalists and towards media?
Yes, there is a tendency to be for hostility. And I do think that organizations like the New York Financial Writers Association are great in as a bulwark against this hostility. Each of us as individual journalists, uh, just one voice complaining or striking back against these charges of fake news. And the association is a group, and with group we have unity, we have strength, we can speak out on specific issues. We have issued statements over the years on important factors that affect us and affect the whole country, as a matter of fact. So I think we need a group. We need to speak with one voice, and we do that through the association. And by speaking in one voice, we can stand up against the people who charge us with fake news when we know it's not fake news, when it's real news, and we can really speak as a group to show that this is not true, and what we really do is the truth.
Great. So, any last comments? This is our legacy video. We're talking to our older, not I want to say older, our senior members. Any parting words that you would want to offer?
Well, it's been great being part of this association. It's been great meeting all of you other legacy members and striking friendships with so many. And I hope the association continues for a long, long time. And yet the younger journalists will become older journalists, and they will become the legacy journalists. The association is more than 70 years old. And so let's hope that the new generation stays with the association as we have, and keeps it going. It's been a great ride, and I hope others will get on that same carousel and ride the same way.